So DC's still having trouble doing a Wonder Woman movie, right?
From what I've been told.
But yet Marvel can just make a movie about a raccoon shooting a giant gun in outer space.
Well, Dan, that's how life works. One minute you're trying to get a movie for a strong female role model, and the next minute you have a raccoon and a talking tree.
Sounds good enough.
Works for me.
Everybody, if you didn't see by the title, we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. And man, let me just tell you guys, this is one of those films that I was definitely kind of looking forward to seeing it. When I heard the production was coming in, that James Gunn was definitely going to be involved, I thought that was a very interesting choice. Now, granted, I'm not very knowledgeable about the Guardians myself. I mean, I'm supposed to be the comic book guy here, but I know about them. It's just I don't really know enough about them to be oh, this is that scene, this is that character from that scene. It's just I know they exist, is basically what I'm kind of saying.
Legitimately, it's pretty much known if you've been watching our videos or if you've read any of the tweets, if you're one of the, 7 followers on Twitter we have.
9 followers.
Oh, we're moving on up. We're moving on up.
Moving on up.
Moving on up. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. What was I talking about? Yeah, I was actually pretty much relatively unknown coming in. That's what we were talking about. I was pretty much relatively unknown, coming into this movie. I know of Rocket Raccoon. I knew of Groot, and I knew of Star-Lord.
And of course, a big character in this one, which we will definitely talk about.
Oh yeah, of course.
Hell yeah. So, if you can't tell, this has been I'd say it's a pretty hyped film.
Oh yeah.
So,
For
definitely,
sure.
I've heard some people say, I don't know, it kind of looks like a weird trailer because I don't know if it's too comedic or I don't know what it is, it looks too weird. Well, we're going to find out just how weird this movie is because it is weird, don't get me wrong.
But sometimes weird is just what you need.
So let's get on to the good. So where do we begin? Because this is actually a pretty big list.
This is weird for us. You need to understand where we're at, because typically when we're doing one of these videos, we're coming in, especially with the last few ones outside of Dawn. The last few ones have been more there's a couple good things that we sifted through the pile of shit.
And then it's this entire 40-minute section where it's just this is why this movie sucks.
And, this is one of those really awesome moments where we fucking loved this thing.
Yeah, surprise, we, with, many of the other people, love this freaking movie.
And it's interesting because Dan and I actually saw this movie separately, which is strange because we typically end up seeing these movies together.
The thing that was funny was, you called me, actually, while I was in the screening about the first Guardians, because I was because, I think you were busy or something like that.
I originally had plans, and I told you that I was going to be good, and then I changed my mind, and then the last minute I changed my mind again and said, I kind of want to go see Guardians, and you were already there.
Yeah, because I was I'll just go see it by myself. And
so I saw it with other friends, because fuck you.
But, regardless of that, we pretty much had the same exact experience where it was freaking awesome. I gotta say, I'm really impressed by this one, because not also did James Gunn just come in and really, you could tell, he had a lot of passion for this project.
Dude, after that movie, I was calling back to other James Gunn, featurettes, because the only thing I could think in the back of my head was, holy cow, I've got a motherfucking erection.
Is he singing?
Yeah, James Gunn, you could see that comedy brought in, but what's cool with a director like Gunn is that he knows when to bring, I don't want to say bring the pain, but that's a good way to put it. Bring the seriousness and what was good about this movie is I'm pretty sure Guardians of the Galaxy aren't necessarily known for their comedic nature.
They're not known for. There is comedic moments. I mean, there's even.
But it's not like the overwhelming.
It's mostly known as like, hey, here's an issue about a cosmonaut dog with telekinesis powers.
Right.
There's humor there, but it's like it's not like in there. And the thing is, like, I could see where people might be coming down to that because, like, you know, look at like Thor. That one was like a very funny movie, but it was kind of like it's even with Iron Man 3. I felt like it wasn't unjustified when people said the comedy kind of took over a little bit.
Thor
of the movie,
movies like say for Thor, for example,
or at least the second one.
Second one, I would even say the first one, honestly, because
yeah.
I found myself laughing a lot more at Thor 1, but the reason I found myself laughing so much was because a lot of it was shock value. Like, the first time he rips through a monster, you're like, what the fuck? And, like, you're laughing from the pure, just, moment. And that's, like, some stuff happens like that in this, but at
although
the same
this one's,
time,
like, not to interrupt, but it's
yeah,
like,
go for it.
A lot of this one is actually, like, real funny, like, dialogue and exchanges. It's just mostly people just kind of going like, hey, you know, I need that guy's arm. No, seriously, I really need it, man. Come on, I really need it.
No, because, like, here's the thing. I agree with you, and it's because there's a good blend of all forms of comedy. There's even the slapstick. There's the subtle humor of, like, somebody doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. There's the actual verbal humor. There's the jokes. There's the physical humor that everyone saw in the trailer with Star-Lord doing, you know, the finger crank thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's... Yeah. There's a good blend of everything, so you're not just bored with what you think is going to come next. Like, you don't think... You know, you're not planning on what's happening.
But what I also think is also good about it is, like, now also did Marvel just give Gunn just, like, full creative control.
Okay, for sure.
Like, he was writer, director, and you could definitely see, like, a lot of his kind of, like, styles in there. But the thing was, too, he also didn't treat it like, let's just play this entire thing for less and be like, isn't this a weird fucking concept?
Right.
He's just like, no, let's just go with it.
Yeah.
Let's just go with it. Let's just embrace how goofy this is. Because if you think about it, like, all comic books are kind of goofy in some sense or another.
Yes.
And the thing is, like, he embraces that. And that's what I kind of like about the Marvel Studios films, that they kind of embrace that more. Like, they don't make it to, like, it's the 60s Batman kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they kind of embrace a little bit more that, hey, it's a comic book movie, let's be fun, let's kind of... It's weird, but you know what, that's kind of good. Let's go with the weirdness. Let's just accept that this is part of this world.
And what ties in with that is pretty much what one of my big pluses for the movie would be the realism, the natural feel of it. Marvel had already set up the Marvel universe, but I think James Gunn and Guardians actually created the Marvel universe and went, hey guys, it's not just Earth. We have this full, like, I've heard it compared to Star Wars, and honestly, I think it's a pretty accurate description. And you have this giant, like, you know, galaxy created, and people are interacting like, hey guys, there's these aliens that are, I don't know, duck people, even though, you know,
yeah.
but,
spoilers, by the way.
Spoilers, by the way, but I'm saying, like, you know, here's an alien a planet that's full of aliens that only speak in slant rhyme or some bullshit like that. Like, they're all just living creatures, and a lot of the humor comes from, like, natural conversation that you would have with your friends, like the kind of stabbing on each other that it's like, you know, oh, you're an asshole, oh, you're an asshole, everybody laughs.
Yeah, and speaking of assholes, I think we should actually get to the characters. This
God.
Like, okay, so first of all, everyone kind of knows Chris Pratt from, like, The Office, you know, the kind of big chubby guy. This time, you know, he got bulked up for this role.
For real.
And I gotta say, I love the shit out of him in this movie.
He was awesome. Like, from the first shots he's on screen,
right,
you immediately go, oh yeah, I'm gonna love this character.
He's kidnapped as a young kid after essentially witnessing his mother die from cancer, which is kind of a dark opening.
Which quite literally, it goes, mom dies, runs out of building, abducted by aliens.
Well, to be fair, this is a Disney picture, so dark openings are kind of standard in some way or another. But anyway, after that, he gets abducted by the space Ravager, I think?
Yes, the Ravagers.
The Ravagers, led by Yondu, who you might know from...
Space Merle!
Definitely Merle. Merle's in this, although, you know, I've liked him in a lot of other roles, and he's kind of playing role. He's pretty much doing his Merle thing in blue makeup, but not a racist.
And a bit more comedy to him.
Oh, definitely a lot more comedy to him. And he's basically brought him up to be another Ravager, and Star-Lord eventually comes onto this like little artifact that like everyone apparently in the galaxy wants, mostly this big guy, Ronan.
Yeah, the scary motherfucker.
Yeah, and the thing
Ronan.
is, like, because he's a Ravager, he's got some sense of moral, but not really. Like, he's pretty much doing it for the money. Like,
Well, the Ravagers are essentially like any of you fantasy nerds or stuff like that out there. Like me, you understand that there are like thieves guilds. Ravagers are essentially the thieves guild of space.
Yeah, they're pretty much.
Yeah, they're out there. They're stealing, but at the same time, they're not like robbing random people. They're going after like ruins and artifacts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they're treasure hunters.
Pretty much. They're treasure hunters and pretty much just like these kind of backstabby guys.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, Chris Pratt definitely kind of plays that up. He definitely plays like kind of, I didn't want to say Han Solo, but like, I'm kind of thinking it's like everyone's sort of like Han Solo in this thing.
Yeah.
Like, he pretty much plays like a cocky guy. He, in the first scene, you see in the trailer where he's like, yeah, I'm Star-Lord. And the guy's like, who?
He's like, oh, Star-Lord, man.
Yeah, because he's cocky. He's like, come on, man. I'm awesome. Look at me.
You don't know me? Come on.
Yeah, he thinks of himself as a shit, but he also has still a little bit of that kind of unknown, that trauma that he had from when he was a kid, as well as, like, he's gotten acclimated to everything. But
he's got the human side that sci-fi loves to try to put over as the, like, defining good characteristic.
Yeah.
It's like, he's a hunter of treasure in space, and he'll fucking sell you for a nickel.
But he's got a heart of gold.
He's still a human.
He's still that. Like, he's also fucking every which way. There's basically everything. In fact, even in, like, it was like in one of the scenes where
he's Shatner in the fuck out of the Marvel
he's like
universe.
he's just like looking at green chicks, please. I've been with Krees, I've been with tentacle monsters, I've been with pink ladies, I've been with anything possible. After that, too, like after he gets to the device, we also meet our other characters because Yondu essentially puts out a hit on him because he wants to think first and wants to sell money for it.
For sure.
And that's where we meet our other characters, which is we meet Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana. She basically plays the adoptive daughter of Thanos, who we will get to that guy in a moment. Like, and the thing is like, I did like her. I did actually like her. I think she's probably the weaker of like the main cast.
Yeah, Gamora to me she was cool. And they had her as like she's a strong female character, but
and they did not make her into a love interest, which I just also want to commend.
Like, here's the thing, they did, but not to the point where it like really did anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like a flirty thing.
Yeah, and nothing resulted of like permanence.
Yeah, it wasn't like in what we kind of see in like a lot of movies where it's just like, oh, they're gonna flirt, and then at the end they fuck, and then it's gonna be this. Basically, they're about to do the kiss, and she just, like, pulls out blade, starts tonight. He's like, no!
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see it happen in Guardians 2.
It'll probably happen in Guardians 2.
So, I'm not gonna...
Actually, if she gets with Drax, that'll be hilarious.
That'd be fucking hot. This green whore is my girlfriend.
Which, by the way, too, we gotta talk about Batista.
Oh, man. Okay, so this is where I come in. Now, as people will know, Dan is the comic guy of the dudes from the Den. I'm the wrestling guy. I have been a professional wrestling fan my entire life, and there's one thing that I've learned. Professional wrestlers are garbage actors. I mean, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is... that hurts to say. That hurts to say. It's The Rock, but I gotta say, Dwayne Johnson is starting to make an exception with that because people are actually giving him characters to play. Right. And when he's giving characters, you see it like in Pain and Gain. He was awesome in Pain and Gain. Right. He's starting to get rid of that, stereotype.
Yeah, and when we saw Batista...
Oh, my God.
We kind of thought the same thing, honestly, because I didn't really think he was going to do horrible. But I was like, okay, he's just going to play the big dumb guy, whatever, and that kind of thing.
You know what, like... People out there who watch wrestling as well, you'll know that when Batista came back recently for his run, before he actually left after Survivor Series? I believe it was Survivor Series, after the defeat of The Shield.
defeat by the Shield. Let me rephrase that. Defeat by the Shield. That whole run of time, there was the Bautista gimmick, there was the Blue Tista thing. Everyone just was giving him a bunch of shit, and one of the things they were really giving him a lot of shit for was the fact that he's gonna be in a movie, and oh no, he came back because he wanted to leave for Hollywood, and all everyone was like, yeah, fuck him, he can't act. And then I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm like, fuck them. Batista did fine.
I was actually surprised he did fine as he did.
He
was really funny.
Let me put it like this. You're never going to see this video, but Dave Batista, you rocked in this movie. And do more. Yeah. Do more characters like this because I'm so excited. I love Drax. I think his character was very good for hiding the inexperience and I would say
because the thing is with his character is he comes from a species that takes everything literal, so he doesn't get metaphors and similes and all that stuff. When Star-Lord it's saying because he's after Ronan for he wants to get revenge on Ronan for killing his family,
right? And
he's telling Ronan if you just wait, Ronan will come to you and you could go. He's like, why
would I run my finger across his neck?
Yeah, and he's like, no. This is kill, because he doesn't understand.
This is slice his throat. I will do more than slice his throat.
It's or even when Rocket Raccoon's explaining, his species doesn't understand similes. They just go over his head.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
Yeah, exactly. That's where a lot of the humor comes from. Is because Drax is not a dumb character.
That's what I really commend them for with the Drax character as well. When you hear about the big, muscled up melee fighter who takes everything literally, you immediately think, oh, he takes it literally because he's stupid. He's not. In fact, he's actually quite intelligent, but it's the way that he was raised on his planet. It's the actual way of his entire planet. It's nurture, not nature.
Yeah, it's just how his species is. It's just they just don't understand metaphors and similes. They take everything literal.
Well, they take everything literal because nobody, his planet, his species, just speaks in literal terms. There's no need for the metaphor, the simile, the lie, any of that, because when somebody's speaking, they speak 100% truth. They say exactly what they're trying to say, which honestly could be taken as a higher intelligent way of getting things done.
Like you said, most wrestlers are not very good actors. But I thought he was actually funny. He was definitely entertaining.
He was funny. He was entertaining. He got the emotion across. He did exactly what you wanted him to do in the movie, and I commend him for it.
Yeah, he's definitely a big surprise.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that no one was going to be surprised by was Rocket. I mean,
fucking Rocket Raccoon.
Everyone knew Rocket was going to be their favorite character coming out of this.
I was actually, honestly, you want to talk about surprise?
Yeah.
I was actually really pleasantly surprised because out of all of them, Rocket was the one that I knew the most. And I was worried when they cast Bradley Cooper, not because I don't like Bradley Cooper, not because I don't think he's a good actor. I couldn't picture his voice. And when they showed him in the first few trailers and vignettes and stuff, he didn't speak with the accent that he has in the movie, the weird New York kind of accent. Yeah. And so it was just kind of Bradley Cooper speaking. I'm like, his voice doesn't match up. I don't know who went to Bradley Cooper and was like, hey, do this accent. But Bradley did it himself because they need a high five. Because Bradley Cooper did a fucking awesome voice.
Honestly, I kind of forgot it was Bradley Cooper.
You couldn't tell.
No. And even the CGI character, being that, yes, Rocket Raccoon is a CGI character, although I can't really see any way to not get around the fact that he's a raccoon.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's he's a really good imagined CGI character. He looks fine. Even some of the little touches that they gave to him, too. As far as it is.
The little strands of hair.
The little strands of hair, the fangs, that kind of thing. Or even just some of the little touches that raccoons kind of do. When Drax was kind of patting him on the head, kind of puts his ears up and kind of does a little thing that a raccoon would do. So, not also is he just really well just imagined character. He's also just fun as crap because he's a talking raccoon with a giant gun.
He's a talking raccoon with a Brooklyn accent, a giant gun, and a freaking bad attitude. He's the best.
Yeah, basically what he is, he's basically this big kind of bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Like, he's basically this bounty hunter, goes in things. He's also this big escape artist. Like, he's this guy who can pretty much make a bomb in like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
With just like a bunch of junk thrown around.
If he's got a plan, you're going down. That's pretty much how it
pretty
is.
much. Like even when they're in the prison scene, like he's just already like formulating a plan on like how to escape. He's like, okay, you need this, and this. But he's also kind of like that smart aleck guy too.
Yeah.
Because like he plays a couple of tricks in like Star-Lord. When they're trying to escape, he's like, oh yeah, I need you to get that guy's leg. Star-Lord gets the guy's leg. He's like, did you really get that freaking leg?
He says, no, I just needed these 2 things.
What do you look like hopping around?
Yeah, so definitely that. But there's also a softer side of the character too, because when there's actually a scene where they all get kind of like drunk at this place nowhere,
Yep.
and he kind of like goes full on kind of like dramatic moment where he's talking about how he really pretty much just hates the fact that everyone looks at him as just a vermin because he's just a raccoon, and like
And
how everyone.
there's actually like subtle backstory elements. There's the his creation getting brought up, how he wasn't like born like this and speaking unless he has implants. You can see the scars on his back, and he goes into this big. He's a sad drunk essentially, and he has a sad drunk moment, and it's actually very touching.
Yeah, it's pretty much just asking, like, he's even asking others, just like, take me frickin' seriously. I'm not just here to be a goofy character. And it's like, well played, Rocket. I will take you seriously.
For sure.
Yeah, because again, it's those little touches that really help make these characters feel much more interesting, and definitely makes you want to go sit through the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even frickin' Groot, who is a character that only says 3 words.
You want to talk, we were talking about Batista, you want to talk about a character that had tons of emotion come out with very limited action, very limited words.
Yeah.
Fucking Groot. Like, here's the thing. The casting for the character of Groot, I don't think could have been any better. Purely because you have a character who is a giant who speaks in very few words and does most of his conveying through physical emotion,
Exactly.
tones in his voice, and the moments that he speaks.
Yeah.
And they got Vin Diesel, the Iron Giant himself, to do this role, which we were comparing. They're essentially the same character.
Yeah, Groot is basically the wooden giant.
He's the wooden giant.
Yeah, because even though he only just says, I am Groot, he still has like a lot of heart, because a lot of it is conveyed in the face and the body language. He's not just a CGI effect that's just meant to be like a tree who smashes things, which, by the way, he does have his own Hulk smash moment.
He has there's a moment.
The Beauty God moment.
A lot of people were saying that a lot of people are comparing Guardians of the Galaxy to Avengers. And it's complete with its own Hulk slamming Loki over and over moment.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is one of the things that made Groot one of the best characters of the movie.
Yeah, because like he basically like impales all these guys and just like smacks them around the walls, like just all over the place. Then after he's done, he just kind of gives this like dumbass smile, like, "Did I do good?"
Everyone else is like, "Whoa."
Yeah, and just Drax and Star-Lord. Another thing I like about this movie, you can definitely feel the bond between all these characters.
That's one thing I love about this movie. You go, this is the right way to do a party in a movie.
Right.
A lot of times when you get like these band ups, like, I promise you, Justice League will not have this. Avengers kind of had it.
Like I'll even say this, like, this kind of did a little bit better than Avengers in my mind.
In terms of forming the group.
In terms of like forming the group and like feeling like they're all friends at the end of this thing.
It did much
very
better.
much.
It did much better.
In that sense, yeah. Like because again, a lot of these guys are pretty much losers. They're pretty much these intergalactic jerks. I mean, Star-Lord's like a guy who just steals things for money. Drax is like this guy on a hell mission like Groot, and Rocket are pretty much like these team bounty hunters, and Gamora is pretty much the daughter of the most insane being in the galaxy who's killed.
Most insane and powerful being in the galaxy.
Yes.
The big bad of Marvel himself.
Yes, sirree. And you really do get the sense that like they screwed up, and they want to try and not really necessarily better themselves, but they want to try and be part of a bigger thing.
Yes.
And through that, they really do form this relationship that you really do see come out. Like, you do believe that all these characters at the end are friends. Like, you know, when Groot does his sacrifice, you feel at that moment that they are all committed to each other. They all are pretty much, they they get angry with each other, but they're tolerant of each other.
Yeah.
They will help each other. They do these things, and that's really where I think the strength of the movie is, because really the plot is kind of basic, and we'll get to that a little later on.
Mm-hmm.
But really what makes the strength of this movie is not also just these characters being so well written and so well defined, but also just how they come together just really does hold this movie together
Oh yeah.
itself.
It's by the end of it, instead of them all going to have a shawarma together, they're all going as friends into the galaxy to seek new adventure. They're all like, hey, we just saved the world. They literally win through teamwork. Whereas, like, Avengers, they win because Tony Stark
Threw a
throws
bomb
a
at
bomb
the
into
mothership.
Yeah, because Tony Stark did something. They saved the city as a team, but
Yeah.
ultimately it's Iron Man that, with his sacrifice, is the one that makes the win. In Guardians, it is a team effort. It is everybody. And that's the importance of this movie. Guardians of the Galaxy, while there are the individual characters, which, this is my personal favorite, the fact that everyone has their own favorite character coming out of Guardians.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you love the group as a whole. And there's a big emphasis of, like, guys, nobody is above anyone else. Star-Lord is not the leader of Guardians of the Guardians of the Galaxy. He was the guy he's the centerpiece of the thing. It's his ship. But, like, Rocket's the strategist. Groot is, pretty much the Swiss Army knife. Drax is the big fighter. Gamora is the tactical one. And he's, the one with the ability to, break in. He's the thief. He's, the gunslinger.
He's the gunslinger thief. And like I said, that's where a lot of the strength of this movie comes from. Not also is it just from, like, the humor, which is quite funny.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Hilariously funny. It's not just, like, gaggy kind of stuff, like, yuck, yuck, yuck kind of stuff. It's more or less just character interaction and
Right.
like, good writing. And again, that's just the strength this movie comes from, is just how well these characters kind of form each other.
Agreed.
Also, another thing I actually got to say is, like, a lot of the other players in this movie were pretty good too.
Oh, yes.
As we said before, Merle as Yondu. Honestly,
Don't you love it when we don't remember actors' names?
actually, I think it's Michael Rooker. It's Michael
is.
Rooker. It's
It
Michael Rooker as Yondo. Even though he is different from his comic book counterpart, I didn't really mind too much. But then again, I'm not a big reader of the Guardians of the Galaxy, so I can't really say.
And again, a big emphasis that I have to put down with these movies is that a movie is an alternate verse to what you're used to reading and other stuff. This is an alternate galaxy, an alternate existence. So these differences, people will be like, oh, he's not the same in the comic. It's like, well, that's because he's literally not the same character. He is James Gunn, or because Gunn was the writer as well, correct?
Yeah.
This is James Gunn's reimagination of the character.
Right. But, like, also you have, like, Benicio del Toro as the Collector, who was really kind of good. Because I thought, when I first saw him...
For a short
like,
appearance, he was very good.
For the short appearance, like, especially, it was much better than his one in, like, Dark World. Where I thought that was, like, kind of like, okay, is this...
You mean the Doctor Who?
Yeah. That's also another thing, like, I think reason why people were kind of skeptical at first, like, is this what the movie's going to look like? And then you actually see the movie's like, oh, okay, never mind. He's actually much that. You have that, John C. Reilly as the Nova Corps officer.
Oh, yeah.
Glenn Close,
Yes.
who is really surprising, and also just, like, other little tiny cameos in there as well. I mean, you got Nathan Fillion as, like, one of these, like, inmates. You had Lloyd Kaufman in there. Rob Zombie was in there, even though I couldn't honestly tell you which one was Rob Zombie, because pretty much all the Ravengers kind of sound like Rob Zombie, to be honest. And, of course, the big cameo, actually, two big cameos. One at the end, at the very end, which is definitely not a setup scene, but it's more of a shawarma kind of ending. But if you're a Marvel fan, you'll definitely dig it.
And if you're a movie dork, which you will be if you're watching these,
you'll dig it. And the big one that we kind of knew about coming in, Thanos, played by Josh Brolin. Not to go, like, too geeky, but, like, Thanos, honestly, like, that was the point where I'm like, I'm sold. I want Avengers 3 to come now. I want Guardians 2 to come now, because I want to see this character.
I want to see Thanos actually get into it, because the redesign of his character. You could see the face is similar to the end of Avengers, but the armor had a bit of a redone, or at least you actually get to see all of it now. It looks so good. He looks exactly like how you think Thanos should look.
Yeah, I mean,
down to the big fuck you smirk that he has on his.
Grant, he's still sitting in that damn chair.
Yeah, but I mean,
but I don't mind this one because, like, again, I got to actually hear him speak. because that's where I really was like
Josh
excited. Like,
Brolin did it.
yeah, because I was like
Awesome.
actually really wondering, like, okay, how's Josh Brolin going to do the voice? And then I heard him like,
Oh yeah.
and I'm just sitting there, like, can we get Guardians 2 now, please?
within the few moments that you actually like, you see him in on Ronan's ship through holographic communication, but the few minutes that Thanos is on screen are like spine tingling because you like if you come in as a Marvel fan and you know what Thanos is capable of. You know when he looks like the main villain of the movie in the eye and says, "Hey, if you fuck up, I'm going to kill you." And in fact, I'm not just going to kill you, I'm going to kill you brutally. And I'm going to freaking cast you across the universe.
I will bathe the Starway in your blood.
Yeah. Like, and you know he'll do it. And in fact, you'll know that's probably the nicest thing he's ever told anybody.
And just like, even as a Marvel fan too, like the cosmic stuff, even though I may not be a big reader, I know about this stuff. Like, I just like the fact that, we talked about this earlier, how they really did invest in a lot of like the sillier kind of concepts, but they just said, screw it, we're just going to go with it.
Yep.
Infinity Stones that like create big power-ups, go with it. Giant Celestials with hammers, go with it. Like dogs in a spacesuit, just go with it. I was surprised to see a Celestial in this movie.
Yeah, it was
Like
too.
a Jack Kirby style like Celestial. Just like all that stuff, like, hey, you want a whole like shopping market made out of the head of a dead god? Do it. That's what I like about this film. It embraces its concepts, it well develops its characters, and it just goes for it. It just goes for it. But even with all that said, we still gotta talk about some of the bad, so let's go to the bad. Okay, this is gonna be really like a short kind of thing, because really there's not too much bad.
Yeah, I know I came out with really only one major
And-
problem myself.
Yeah, and even
so-
hearing from like other people, well, like you can definitely kind of tell like it's pretty much the same thing. That, like,
Or
almost-
I should revamp. I shouldn't say major problem because it wasn't enough to make me not enjoy the movie, and it really wasn't anything to make me not enjoy what I'm going to talk about. But it was still something. It was more about I thought they could have done a little more in a certain
Yeah.
aspect.
yeah, and I think that's what everyone feels, and that is the character of Ronan. Pretty much any of the villains, because like I'll even put Nebula in there a little bit, even though I thought
Yeah.
she was a little better. But like Ronan's definitely kind of like the big little splotch mark. The thing is, I'll give this movie credit. They do build him up, so he's not necessarily a Malekith, like in Thor: The Dark World, where he's just kind of this bland like evil guy,
Yeah.
elf thing who wants to
Thing.
just take over there. Yeah, it's just a bland, boring, like whatever. Just have Thor smack him in the face a couple
Yeah.
times.
Whatever. He's just
Yeah,
here
like-
for Thor to beat him up.
Yeah, what's good about this is like the characters do kind of build up about how big of a threat Ronan is.
He is a religious, genocidal maniac.
He is like a hardcore ancient Kree guy who believes in just wiping out the galaxy
Yeah.
and being its accuser.
Yeah, they call him Ronan the
The
Accuser
Accuser.
because he lives his life based on the old. Because even he says even the modern day Kree don't go by
Yeah.
his by the teachings.
He is
anymore.
essentially a
So-
Kree fanatical.
Yeah, he's a Kree fanatical that it goes by the old teachings, and he will go to other planets, which it was really where the Nova Corps homeworld,
Yeah.
for example, he finds them guilty against his own code, and when he does this, it's not like slap on the wrist. He kills you. In fact, he kills your entire planet.
He will kill anybody, and
Yeah.
just because. And to be fair, you do get that menace. He does look menacing, and Lee Pace does a good job as Ronan. But there's not really too much to him after.
There isn't much in that. It's more to the. I wish we got to see more action out of him. I wish we got to see more of a fight at the end. I do appreciate how they ended the movie, and I get
Yeah.
what they were trying to do, and I'm not taking points away from that at all. At the same time, I would have liked to see them actually fight him more. Instead of just like, we can't kill him. I think it would have
Yeah.
been better if it was like, we can't beat him or kill
Yeah,
him.
'cause
Because the thing is, like, I tell people all the time, like, one of my biggest issues with characters are, like, the really durable characters. I'm going to say this right now. Being able to get your ass beat is not a superpower. there are certain superheroes where it's like, okay, yeah, they're indestructible. I hate that. That's not a superpower. That's being able to get beat up a lot before you eventually lose. You get beat up more before you eventually lose. And we get shown that Ronan is badass. Like, he throws Drax around, who's outside of, like, probably Groot, the most physically powerful out of all of them. And he throws him around like he's a fucking 4-year-old girl.
Exactly.
And it's like, why can't we see him do that to the other members of the Guardian? Why can't you see them all, like, actually fighting him? Like, yeah, there are some really awesome moments in that final fight. There's some really awesome moments. But
I mean, he just annihilates an entire, like, half the Nova Corps.
Oh, yeah, well, he does it with his ship. That's something I'll give them credit for. Technically, that is Ronan's move. So, because he's the one that initiates the blast.
Well, yeah, that, and he's also, like, hopped up on Power Gem juice.
Yeah,
I know it's called the Power Stone.
It's the Infinity Stone.
Fuck,
But it's
a Power Gem.
It's the Infinity Gem, yeah.
It's an Infinity Gem. Like, he's pretty much all hopped up on Infinity Gem juice. So I'll give credit. But I kind of get the feeling like maybe they cut some of his scenes out.
I do too.
Like, maybe he had more scenes. Like, I've heard some theories, like, he's also supposed to be kind of in the joke, too, is that he's the villain who's supposed to be, like, dead serious all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where the joke comes from. Yeah. Especially with, like, him in the final confrontation with Star-Lord at the end.
What are you doing?
Yeah, like, it's a scene that should totally not work.
It shouldn't work.
But it works completely for this movie, which I will give so much credit for that scene actually working. And I think that's kind of where it is. It's like, it kind of feels like Ronan is a bit too one-dimensional in that sense. Or, like, I don't mind, like, villains who are just, like, yeah, evil things. Like, I kind of like a good evil villain kind of thing.
The thing is, the only thing that kept him, because like I said, I still liked Ronan. I thought Ronan was very cool, and I enjoyed the moments that I saw him. And that's probably where my biggest problem is. I wish they would have developed him just a little more, and they would have given him a little more screen time. Just a few scenes. Why is he such a fanatic in the old ways of the Kree? Why is he, out to, commit fucking genocide on the entire galaxy? They don't explain that. They just want you to accept it. And I
basically, like, not again to interrupt, but it's like, basically it's kind of like the movie's code is like, he's the bad guy. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, because they easily could have made Ronan a very interesting character by just showing a bit of his past. Like, hey guys, this is why he's a fucking psychopath.
Also, he has another aid in the movie too. Nebula, played by Carrie Gillian, who I know personally from Doctor Who. And I was kind of interested to see where she would go with it, because basically she's the other adopted daughter of Thanos. And, like, basically Thanos lends both his daughters, Gamora and Nebula.
I think it's safe to say that they're not the only ones, though. Thanos is kind of like...
Yeah.
Just like...
Basically, when I say daughters, is like, basically he killed their parents and just kind of took them in and said, you're going to be my warriors of death. Yeah. And Nebula is sort of the opposite of Gamora. Gamora is, like, the one who, like, is wanting to fight that kind of instinct that is and get revenge on Thanos. Like, Nebula is that too, but she's pretty much accepted that she's fucked up. Yeah. Like, again, she's, like, cybernetically enhanced. Like, she's got, like, the Terminator eye going on. She's got a mechanical arm. And I'd say she's a little bit better developed than Thanos. No, not Thanos. I mean, Ronan. Sorry, it's just Thanos' cameo really does kind of, like... I got Thanos on the brain. I got, like, Thanos on the brain here, folks. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more developed than Ronan. But at the same time, like, the way she kind of exits the movie is kind of a little bit like, eh.
I'll get you next time, Gamora. And she
flies away. Like, kind of. It's like, I'll see you in Guardians 2, bitches. And then she kind of flies away. Which I don't mind, especially considering, which I don't necessarily mind that she lived, considering, like, I think they might be doing something with her, hopefully, in the Infinity Gauntlet. Hopefully. And again, I want to see Carrie Gillian back in the sequel.
Agreed.
But I think they could have developed her also as well. Like, really, that's where the weakest link is, because the villains, like, they have the presence, they have the things, like, Thanos is, like, the only one to give credit to because he's really a cameo.
Thanos is a cameo, but in the few moments that he was there, I gave more of a shit on Thanos than I did in any of the other villains that were in the scene.
Yeah, because he really had that big, imposing, like, everything, like, it's like the movie stops to tell you, this guy is. the shit. You pay
Yeah.
attention to this guy. You respect this guy.
And that's another reason why like Ronan could have been developed a little. Like
Yeah.
Ronan walks into Thanos' house. Well, the universe is Thanos'
Yeah.
house, but like
Like,
Ronan walks into Thanos' place, looks his servant, like his speaker, in the eye, and fucking kills it.
yeah, and this is the same guy from
Avengers, yeah.
Basically just snaps his neck. Thanos doesn't even care and just kind of turns around and is like, you know who I am, right?
Yeah, but I think that's where they could have developed Ronan a little more. Because he even told Thanos when he got the Infinity Gem that it was like, yeah, when I'm done, I'm coming for you. Do you have any idea how bad you have to be to go after Thanos? So that's why they could have developed that, a little more. Have him do the fucking, like, hammer smash that destroys a planet. Have him all around a motherfucker. Like,
Exactly.
if you can tell when this man destroys a planet with a fucking hammer, like, he's a threat.
Yeah, like, I think if they showed more scenes of him, like, when he does get the power gem,
Yeah.
like, more, like, kind of a destruction he shows, or just, like, give a little hint of that.
Yeah.
Kind of tries to show, like, to show how powerful and imposing this guy is. Like, they do set up, because, like, to all the characters, they know how bad Ronan is, and, like, even when Star-Lord tries to sell one of the guys, like, the power gem, the guy's like, no, fuck, if Ronan is after that, no.
He's like, what is that? Well, it's an Infinity Gem. It's like, we're looking at some guy named Ronan was looking at this, and the guy stops and he goes, Ronan wants this? Get the fuck out of my store.
The thing is, like, I like how they set him up, and, like, the characters know he's threatening, everything else, but it's like, as an actual character, he's serviceable to the story,
Yeah.
and not to fill the bad guy quota, but he's not really that interesting as
Agreed.
far as, like, a character goes,
Agreed.
especially, like, compared to the other characters, which I don't mind if that's what they were purposely doing, like, to focus less on the villain and focus more on the heroes, because, again, that is the movie's strong point. In fact, that is kind of what makes the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, let's actually wrap up this review, shall we? What are our final thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy?
Fun.
Yeah, it's honestly fun. This is easily one of the most fun movies I've seen this summer. I think Marvel's just really on the ball with this, and Cap 2 really kind of almost like did like a big like second win, kind of like 180 on like a, because like I don't mind Iron Man 3 and Thor Dark World, but but like at the same time, like I was kind of disappointed with them a little bit. And then like Cap 2 and Guardians come in and it's like, no, we're back on track coming into Age of Ultron, so it's got me more hyped for that. This movie takes the Marvel Universe in a bigger kind of point of view to see, like, it takes it to the stars, the galaxy. We get to see a lot of the stuff that a lot of the people who like a lot of the galaxy kind of aspects of the Marvel Universe like it's there. We're starting to see it develop, and I'm liking where it's going. I'm liking where it's going a lot. I love the characters. I think they are what really makes this movie the best part of it, because if they really were not that good, this movie would not have been as successful as I think it was.
The characters are truly amazing.
Yeah, it's their interactions that form the humor. It's just really, really a fun movie. I would highly recommend you see it. Like, we're planning on seeing it again. It's really one of those movies you can go back and kind of rewatch again and pick up on stuff. As a comic book fan, I loved like some of the little nods. Like, I liked Cosmo, the cosmonaut dog, or Howard the Duck, or even Beta Ray Bill's actually in the movie. It's that little stuff that I like. It's a director saying, yeah, this is a kooky concept, but let's just go with it. Let's just embrace it. Let's respect it. Let's embrace it. And let's just have fun. For my final rating, I would give it at least, I'd say a 4.5 out of 5.
Not to, reiterate a lot of the stuff that you were saying, but what Guardians of the Galaxy and what Winter Soldier did wasn't just to turn Marvel around on that 180. They're kind of redefining what the comic book movie is. Because typically, when you see a comic book movie, you think of origin story, you think of people in spandex, you think of, stupid, with great power comes great responsibility. And, they have that stuff. But at the same time, Cap is this espionage film, and Guardians is this fucking, it's a space odyssey in its own way. And it redefined the game while keeping all the stuff that you still really liked from it before. The comedy was spot on. The drama was spot on. The animation was spot on. Even the soundtrack was spot on. Everything that I look for outside of the few, scratches on the paint, we'll say, it's still a pretty car. It's still a good ride. It was really fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again, and I hope to see you guys in there as well. I would give this movie a 4.5 out of 5 as well.
All right, so that covers our view on Guardians of the Galaxy. We say definitely go see it. Definitely recommend go seeing it. I mean, it's pretty much, it's the only good thing in the theaters. I mean, we know there's another movie that people saw, but even without seeing that movie yet, I can guarantee that
this one will be better.
Guardians is the best.
Yeah.
I pretty much guarantee you're going to have a much better time in Guardians.
This is the best thing in theaters right now.
So, that said, I am Dan.
I'm Shane, and
I'm hooked on a feeling, da, 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 da.
And
I'm high on believing
that you're in love with me.